Let's start with the T Awards. Uh, did that surprise you? Did that shock you when you won? Was that not expected? Not.
Yeah, it was a total surprise because I did have two nominations. I had one for something called Miss Unique and one for Best Self-Producer. And as the night's going on, they're going through the awards, and I did not win those two. Um, so I was still paying attention, but not as closely the rest of the night. And then I'm sitting at a table talking to my close friend Aria James, and I'm kind of turned around, not looking at the stage, and wasn't really paying attention to what the category was. And I thought I heard my name, and then Aria said, "Ria, you just won." And I was like, "What? What did I win?" I didn't even know what the category was. And it was like a special sort of one-off where there weren't any nominees, and it was presented by like Clips for Sale. It's called Clips for Sale Trans Creator of the Year. And it was a total shock. And I barely remember, walking up to the stage or what I said on the stage, but I'm terribly grateful. I remember trying to express my gratitude and thanks to really everyone in the room and certainly all of the performers that I've worked with. But that's about all I remember. It's a big shock, and I'm just so honored to have won that. So
And you've been to the T Awards before, right?
last year was my first year. I was very new last year, and I didn't really know of maybe a half a dozen people that whole night. It was not a bad experience, but it didn't compare to this year, having been doing it, hitting it hard for a whole year, met a lot of new people. So it just helps when you have a lot of friends in the room with you. Let me turn off my phone. There.
Do you think you've established yourself in the year?
Well, it's baby steps. I'm still new. Um, so next month will be 2 years that I've been doing adult. And in fact, I think my first OnlyFans posting, something popped up on my calendar. It's right around late March or early April, so 2 years ago. But yeah, a lot's happened, and I'm a hard worker, and I'm going to continue to.
I'll cut this out, but we had a joke. We used to call it Wacko instead of Waco.
You're totally right. The whole
But
"we ain't coming out" David Koresh business and big Baptist Bible Belt. It's really out of control. I
yeah,
don't
but
like going there. My mom's still there, so I don't even feel comfortable going there anymore being trans. So I just stay in her house, and I won't go out to dinners, or I try not to, because I just don't like, people aren't open-minded. They're very judgmental, and it's just not my scene.
so then David Koresh wasn't an exception there, or is that like I don't want to say the norm, but is the overall society what's the right way to say that? That way? If that's I'm sorry if that sounds bad.
I mean, I wouldn't say it's like that, but I'm sure there's cults everywhere. But to me, Waco, I'm just so thankful that I got out of there when I did, because I would be a completely different person. I would probably be racist, probably homophobic, and just very closed-minded. And I'm not knocking religion, but I certainly never went to church. I'm very ignorant when it comes to religion. I don't know
Well,
anything about religion, and I don't frankly want to. Not to go in that direction, but ultimately, I feel like religion ends up being the root of every single problem the world has. So I mean, I think it's good for people to, believe in something, and have faith and just, have good qualities and stuff. But as far as like going to church religiously and praise Jesus and all that, it's bad. I would rather watch Righteous Gemstones for a laugh and mock it.
Um, when you went into high school, were you popular? Were you a loner? Were you a geek, a nerd?
I was well, middle school and ninth grade, I was actually pretty popular, and I was actually more into that sort of, preppy crowd, which is kind of funny. And then when the music sort of thing hit me, I was into heavier music mainly, and I kind of changed my look. I started wearing rock tees and growing my hair out, and I ended up getting away from that original group of friends and finding some new ones, and I wasn't I lost that popularity, but I had a lot better time, because we weren't as focused on the peer pressures and being accepted for the clothes you wear and how you dress, or if you have a cool car, all that BS. So yeah, I was just I wouldn't say I was a geek in later high school. I was just kind of a rock and roll boy, with a bad haircut, and just doing that sort of stuff.
You mentioned you're popular. Popular with the boys, popular with the girls.
Oh, uh, well, both really. I always had girlfriends, and I was certainly sexually active at a way too young of an age, kind of accidentally, but yeah, no, I always had girlfriends. I was that kid that a lot of people did kind of look up to, because I was one of, I kind of lost my virginity before everyone, and I was like, French kissing girls in fourth grade, just like kind of weird stuff. It's like way too young to be doing that. But I think a lot of my guy friends admired me for that, and I liked the attention. But God, looking back, I mean, how immature, I was quite immature. I must have been.
And were you ever bullied in grade school or high school?
Um, no, I wasn't. I was I was politely made fun. I was made fun of by my group of friends in high school because I never smoked pot, and all my friends were big pot smokers. And so, we'd be riding around in their cars, and they would have the windows up and smoking joints. And I'm like, come on, guys, stop trying to roll down the window to get fresh air. And they would make fun of me for those sorts of things. But no, I was never bullied. I was never in a fight. Um, yeah. And come to think of it, I kind of alluded to it, but I mentioned PE, but I was very I was in gymnastics. I was a gymnast, and I was into, I used to play basketball, and uh, swimming was a big part of my life. And but yeah, so not bullied though.
You mentioned you like music, you got into music. Did you start learning how to be a musician from stuff you heard before and you wanted to do that? Or have you just, I don't know, got the music bug early in your life?
Yeah, I have always been drawn to older music. I became obsessed with the Beatles, like a lot of people did in high school, and so I kind of really got into 60s and 70s music. I just something about it spoke to me. I always liked 70s music, like Queen and Cheap Trick and ELO, and some of that kind of power pop, rock stuff. I guess, now I guess they call it classic rock, but I got into the music because you just have friends who maybe one of them had a guitar or a bass, And you might stay the night at your friend's house. Hey, check out the guitar I got. I learned, or I'm learning whatever song, and they show you, and it just becomes addictive. And as soon as you learn like your first few power chords or regular chords, that's enough. It was enough for me to want to pursue that and learn more and more. I got addicted to it. So I used to play guitar like every night after school for a while.
When you played guitar, was it for creative reasons or for the attention?
Um, oh, you asked such interesting questions. I like that. Well, at first, I don't think I really thought about it, but I know somewhere in the back of my mind, I wanted to be like these bands that I looked up to. As I would really like to do that, but I didn't really think about the fame or sort of stuff like that. It was just something about being on a stage and writing your own music and having fans. So yeah, that I guess all that was in the back of my mind, but it wasn't. I don't know. Early on, I don't think I thought of it like not for so much like attention or fame, but it must have been that, right? Um,
Well, to me, I'm sorry to interrupt you. To me, it seems like you already had the girls, so most people get the music to get the girls. But
right.
did you get more girls after you picked up an instrument?
Maybe a little bit. Certainly when I moved to Austin, I did because I went through different bands and eventually, like anything, you start doing better playing with other musicians and bigger bands, more girls come, more sex, that sort of thing. And that was certainly, a fun time in my life. But it wasn't, I didn't do it, just to get more pussy. It was just fun. And there's something so cool. And it's just such a good feeling when you finish writing a song
Right.
and you show it to your other bandmates and then people learn their parts and then all of a sudden you have this full song and it's just like, wow, that's really cool, we did this, we created this together. So
And you mentioned you had sex with girls and a musician and all that. When you had sex with the girls, was that a dating thing or were you like a hit and run type of person? You know what I mean?
yeah, not gonna lie, I was more of the hit and run. I mean, I certainly had my share of like one night stands, but I was more that really wasn't my thing. I was more of a maybe a 1 month stand, or 2 or 3 weeks we'd hang out. But also when you're at that age, your 20s, the girls are the same way for the most part. We're just out there enjoying life, having fun. Um, but I was never the kind of person to purposely try to pick up a girl and have sex with her and then see ya. That was never my thing. So yeah.
You were never on stage doing a group, and I don't know what type of girl you were into, but we'll say blondes for sake of discussion. You're on stage performing and you're like, that one. I want that one.
I was never in bands like that. So I mean, not that big. But I would hang out at these clubs that we would play at. Like if I wasn't, we would only play like maybe twice a month there. So, but on the weekends, I and all my friends that's just where we'd go and watch other bands, and that's where all the girls would go too. So that's really how I met most of them, just kind of drinking beer, hanging out, chatting at these clubs.
And at that point, were they, how do I say this? Did they want the guy on stage or did they want you?
I was definitely, and I still am pretty shy, but for some reason, when I was at these clubs, I just had a confidence and I felt very at ease approaching girls. And certainly if there was a little bit of eye contact going each way, then yeah, I'm definitely going to go talk to the girl. If I can tell that they weren't, eyeing me back, well, I might just leave them alone or whatever and move on. But yeah, no, I didn't really have too many issues, or I had pretty good confidence, doing that.
Did you ever record anything?
I did. Consensually. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Back in those days with those old big fucking cameras, and yeah, we would put down these big cameras, and it was way before you could do anything with it, like, the OnlyFans and whatnot. But so it was just for our pleasure, our, enjoyment, I should say. And looking back, it's really interesting that so many of the girls wanted to do it also. And they were totally fine with it. So it was terrible quality too. And you don't.
What I meant to say was, did you record any music? The band ever go in the studio and
My mind's in the gutter. Yeah,
good for
yeah,
you?
yeah. Yep. Yeah, definitely did like a couple EPs and three CDs, and yeah, yeah, yeah. We did that. That was I never had any money, so that was always, it was so fun to do, and I loved it when you finally have a finished product, but that would always kill me financially, buying all the, well, paying the engineers and buying.
Yeah.
We used to go out and do it. We were always after a more authentic vinyl sound, warm sound. So we would buy 2-inch tape for the drums, and versus just doing it on the computer, everything. Well, the rest of it we would, but we would always record the drums in a nice studio using that tape, and that tape was so expensive, I remember. But yeah, 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 definitely.
And getting your mind back in the gutter. Before you were recording stuff in high school, had you been sending your girlfriends, or were their girlfriends sending you naughty pictures?
No, not at all. Um, no, we didn't, we never did that actually. I don't know. I might be a little bit older and before that sort of
Yeah.
thing, but yeah, no, I never did that. And I would just meet the people out like in person, not on apps, that sort of thing.
And you remember the first time you saw something adult related? A movie, a magazine, anything?
Yeah, I do. Well, I remember two things. So I remember being at my first girlfriend's best friend's house. Like I snuck in there in the middle of the night, like we do. My girlfriend was having a sleepover at her house. Her parents are in the other room. But her dad used to have uh, I think it was Hustler or Penthouse. It was one of the, I think it was Hustler because that was always considered like the very X-rated one back in that day. And she had it in her room, and I remembered looking at that and thinking, actually, that wasn't the first time I saw a pornography, a video, a VHS tape before that, and I remember it kind of freaked me out. I remember I was at my friend Jeff's right after school. I don't remember the details as to how he had it. Sixth grade, right? So, but it was the first time that I saw a porn, like full-on penetration, and it kind of scared me, to be honest with you, because I had never seen it before. Like the magazines, it was normally, uh, nice nudity, or the hustlers, the girls might have been spreading their lips, or, just maybe had a dildo or a toy in them. I can't remember, but first time I actually saw a video of somebody fucking somebody, it kind of made my heart like, oh my God, what is this, And I didn't really like it. I was more scared, I think. But very soon after that, I feel like it was that summer is when I lost my virginity. Um, But I didn't know what I was doing, you know. The girl was a couple years older than me, and she was considered the class slut. So she kind of made the moves, made it all happen. I remember crying. I cried while we were having sex. I was so worried she was going to get pregnant. My mom had always told me,
Mhm.
you know, wear a condom, whatever happens, if you ever get anyone pregnant, blah, 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 blah. It was just such a big deal to me at that young age. So I remember crying, thinking, what if she gets pregnant? It was just not a good experience. So
From seeing the movie, did that have any impact on you doing the deed? Did you
not that,
understand, or did you just,
not that first time, but then, and also, yeah, I was a bad kid. I was drinking during this time. I mean, sneaking out. That like when I lost my virginity, there were several of us. I remember we all snuck out, and somehow we had just cheap like wine drinks or coolers or something. I don't know how freaking 12, 13 year olds get their hands on that. But we did, and so I was drunk also. That probably also was why I was more emotional and crying. But uh, I feel like within 2 weeks, I did have sex with my girlfriend again, and it was, completely sober. Still didn't know what I was doing, but I actually enjoyed it. We did oral sex both ways for the first time, and uh, as far as that porn. I can't say whether or not it entered into my mind like, oh, this is how they do it, I
uh,
probably not just then yet. And then everything kind of becomes gray because things sort of progressed quickly that next year, and I can't really even say when I saw porn again,
no,
but it must have somehow impacted me. I just feel like it must have seeing it.
but when you lost your virginity, did she initiate or you initiate?
She did. Yeah, she did. She was a couple years older. Uh, she was also a virgin too. And it's funny because up until a couple years ago, we still have been talking. I mean, we're still friends. I just haven't talked to her in ages, but we've remained friends our entire adult life. And yeah, so we used to joke about it over the years. Like you're the one that started. I would have been a virgin, and she's like, no, you wanted it, and this, and just kind of
Yeah,
joking about it. But we both wanted it. I just probably was too scared and naive to instigate it, and I didn't really know. Nobody knows anything about foreplay back then.
no,
It's just like
no.
right, the pants come off and you stick it in, but.
But from that point in your life to now, had the thought ever crossed your mind when you saw adult material that I could do that?
From way back then until
Yeah, when you saw adult material, maybe later in your life, whatever
Hmm.
age you want to say,
Yeah.
did the thought ever cross your mind? Because you're a creative person already being a musician.
Hmm. Yeah,
So,
for sure. Yeah, I definitely became a big I was really into porn. I still enjoy porn. Yeah, so when I started watching a lot of porn on the internet, I I definitely was like, oh, I would do this, or I could do this. Even if I couldn't really do it back then, I was telling myself I could see myself doing that, those sorts of things. It's not like I had, the biggest dick or anything, which is kind of weird because porn back then, dicks were more just average and just they made more
they,
sense. Now it's like
yeah,
they have to be fucking over 8 inches before to even be on film. It's kind of weird, but yeah, no, I definitely thought that I could do it. I can't say that I ever said I'm going to do that someday. That kind of came later, just accidentally. So
and um, you finish high school. Do you get a job? Do you go to college? Do you do what?
Yeah, so I had been working just little jobs at restaurants, and I did go to like a community college in Waco for a couple of semesters, and right around that time is when we moved the band to Austin. So I just and I was doing terrible in the community college, and I knew then I wasn't going to do any more school, or at least not for a few years. So we moved to Austin, and yeah, and that's when I took mu music very seriously in my life, and that was kind of like I'm doing porn now, but back then it was just music 24/7.
And is the Austin music scene as big as we hear it is?
It was Austin's changed a ton, and not for the better. It's a lot of California transplants. It's got ridiculous crowded and expensive, but there was a time where like when they started doing the South by Southwest, like the first 10, 15 years, it was actually a really cool thing. And bands really would get a lot of the labels, they would come in and they were really going there to find, the next big thing versus just coming there to party, and just it just got so out of control. But yeah, Austin has a big rock, very big country scene, and blues were quite big. They have all kinds of music there, but yeah, I feel like country was still always like probably the biggest genre of music, though. At least the bands that did that, they would always get paid the most. We never made money, but
Um, what made you stop doing music? Did something happen?
um, I think I just got older, and we never uh got like super popular, and it got old playing in front of a small crowd, not making hardly any money, and then late at night, and then getting up, going to, your vanilla job, at 9 in the morning. Sometimes you don't get home till a little after 2, and it just got old, and it was no longer fun. So we started playing, well, I had been in different bands, but I feel like the last few shows I played, we would only play like every other month, and we would get like a good show on a weekend, and maybe headline or open for a bigger band. And those were the fun times, but you're not making any money, and it just, you got to rehearse, and it just kind of eventually felt like work and not fun. So I stopped that, and then my my next bug that I picked up was running, actually, like distance running. So I got
How do
obsessed
you,
with.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. How do you make the transition into the adult industry?
Well, I used to get on Craigslist when that was a thing, on the casual encounters. And I just was always kind of horny, and I was starting to experiment with guys, and dressing female. And I just was really, really, really into that. And I had so much fun doing it. And then I met this couple that were swingers, and they used to come over, and we would like just have these cool, fun three-ways. And they're like, Ria, you need, are you on some of these swinger sites like blah 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 blah? And I had never heard of them. So I got on FetLife, like so many people, and that is sort of how I all this started, because we used to film and take lots of pictures, mainly pictures of us, you know, me sucking someone's dick or getting
Yeah, yeah.
fucked, POV stuff. And I would post that on FetLife, and people, would start like, comments, comments, comments. Where can I find your OnlyFans? Where can I find your videos? And so that kind of planted the seed. And I was a little hesitant, but the more and more I would do these hookups, I would start filming more and more. Still nothing very long, but like say I used to film 30-second clips. Well, now they might be a minute or 2 minutes long. Ooh, we're getting
Right.
real fancy now. And so it just started gradually growing, and eventually people start messaging you, asking you if you want to come out to Vegas or, to do a scene. And that's basically how it happened.
And so then you open your OnlyFans first, and right before you got into business, or no?
Yeah, OnlyFans came about 2 months. So once I knew that I was gonna do OnlyFans, like I had it all planned. I'm gonna leave. Okay, so I started OnlyFans with just putting not much attention into it. I just wanted to feel it out. And once that first month check, and I'm working a 40-hour job, so and I didn't really know how to edit videos. And so once the first month check came in, I'm like, oh, okay, well, I got $700 without trying. So I'm definitely gonna pursue this. I'm gonna leave my job. And I had started like learning video editing. I'm like planning all this in
No.
my head. And so I finally have a bunch of pictures and some videos on OnlyFans right around this time 2 years ago. And then I fly to North Carolina to shoot my first collab with somebody that's pretty big. Her name's Lola Crystals. She's a good friend of mine. She's her niche is definitely interracial. She only works with black guys, right? And she's this super hot girl. She wears like a half mask. She's blonde, and I was going to be her first non-black male that she worked with. And so I flew out there, and we hit it off great. We filmed a few scenes with some of her friends, and we did a solo thing of me fucking her. And she was the one that told me, because my OnlyFans was free, and I had just started to get a few subscribers, and I know what it was. We were filming this, but we also did a live thing on OnlyFans, and she said, Ria, you need to go in right now to your OnlyFans and you need to put a price on it. 8, $10, 12, whatever. And I did. I put $10 on there. And I'm glad she talked me into that because pretty much overnight in the next 2 nights, just from her following, I got a lot of subscribers and attention. And then when I got home, we edit the video, put it out, and it just started growing. And then I set up another collab out in Tampa, and then I started coming to Vegas every 6 weeks. And now I'm finally living here. Yeah. So that's how it all started, and it's really how it's uh, what I'm still doing. I do a ton of collabs. I don't really get studios don't seem to think I'm marketable, so I do very little of that. I would love to do more, but maybe they don't know who I am yet. I don't know.
At their loss. But how easy or difficult from being a creative person as a musician did it become to being creating adult material? Did that help, hurt? Did it make easier?
It made it a lot easier, certainly with video editing, because I had had a little bit of experience with, editing or mixing, my music, and it's kind of the same, just instead of all audio waveforms, you have video and audio, and it just kind of made sense. Certainly the basics, and I'm by no means a great video editor now, but yeah, that helped. And then I don't know if you're aware of this, but the majority of my scenes, I'd say 75% of them start off with some sort of dialogue. Um, and I enjoy doing it, whether or not fans skip over it. I don't know, but there's something about porn that I've always been attracted to that draws me to it because of the it's funny, it's ridiculous, it's over the top, campy lines. Everyone
Right.
has. the pizza guy, the landlord, the this and that. And I personally I like it. So I like doing that. That's a big part of my uh thought process. I try to always come up with something semi as unique as I can. So
And are you just doing boy girl or are you doing anything else
um
content wise?
I started off just boy girl. And then I always knew that I was a pretty good, I've used to fuck a lot of people back in the day, and I knew I was, not to toot my horn, but I was a pretty good lay, right? When I'm topping girls. So I started, and I've always been attracted to trans girls. I used to date, or certainly have a lot of flings with trans girls before I transitioned, and I always enjoyed fucking them and having them fuck me, but so I started pretty quickly doing everything. Lately, most of my content is me topping other trans girls, um, but I like doing it all. I just actually, this funny, as the time of, well, what is today, March 22nd, as of right now, I just released my first scene of me topping a guy. That's kind of new to me, but there's people always asking me, or saying, "Oh, Ria, I want your dick so bad," and this and that. So
Yeah.
we'll see how it goes. I have a few more in the pipeline. I've been pursuing that more and more.
And have you worked with a lot of mainstream adult female actresses? Because it seems like more and more comfortable working in the trans community now than they were before. If that's the right way to say that, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I would like to work more with females, or as they call them, like cis female women, but and I know a few of them. I've probably only done a half a dozen scenes with them, or half a dozen different women. But yeah, you're right. It's becoming a little more, well, not mainstream, but acceptable. I suppose it's kind of a shame that a lot of the studios, probably most of them, they cut you off. They don't want you working with anyone trans. They don't want the girls working with anyone that does bi or gay stuff. I don't know if they're old school and or have that old stigma of, AIDS or something. If you're
No.
gay, AIDS, it's really silly. But I love women. I love all genders, but I love the women. So I would like to continue to keep finding more to work with for sure.
And we're talking about trans content always seems to stay popular. It never seems to wane. It's always a popular niche. Why do you think that is?
Um, well, I mean, we're definitely a unique bunch because you kind of getting the best of both worlds, Now, I, for one, don't have my boobs yet, but the majority of them have the tits and they got a dick. And a lot of people uh, are really into anal sex. And obviously, that's what you're going to be fucking. So there's that. I would assume that's a big part of it. You know, I don't know if, yeah, I don't know for sure. I haven't given it too much thought, but I'm told that it is always one of the highest searches, maybe in the porn searches. They're definitely looking for trans porn. And I think deep down, a lot of men, they would like to experience it. They're always going to be, most of these guys are going to be closeted about it, but they want to get fucked by a trans girl, I think, is part of it, or suck their dick. And I get it, it's taboo. But it's sexy as fuck. So
You mentioned you transitioned. How did that come up, or was that something you thought about for a while?
I've thought about it for years and years, but I just didn't want to do it in Austin, and I wanted to wait till I was waiting to finish my vanilla job. I was kind of locked into that for a while, and I was like, I- all my closest friends knew, and my brother and my mom, and yeah, so certain people knew, and they knew what I was doing, but because I knew so many people in Austin, I didn't want to, be at the grocery store or out for a run or wherever I was at a restaurant, run into people, as my female self and have to, and they're like, I'm not saying my real name, but
No, right.
they're like, oh, what's going on? I don't want to have to explain that. It's very personal. I should just have a I don't give a fuck attitude, but I decided I'm going to move to Vegas. And as soon as I move here, I'm going to live my life 100% the way I want, starting from day one, like clean slate. And
Mhm.
that's what I did. And it was the best choice of my life. I feel so much, it's just so much relief being able to do this because I've been wanting to do it for the longest. And again, I could have done it in Austin, but I was kind of a pussy about it, and so I decided to do it here. At the same time, I was spending way too much money coming out here all the time to film. It made sense for me to come here because here is probably the capital for shooting trans porn. I don't know, or LA, one of the two, and that's super close.
And the actual process, was it harder for you physically or psychologically?
The transition.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Um, well. It can be rough on people. I haven't had any issues except for or no issues that bother me. I'm very much more emotional. I tend to cry and like ridiculously hard for like 5 minutes out of the blue for dumb stuff like, a puppy commercial or movie or music. Certainly, I have my favorite songs like we all do that just kind of fucking tug on those heartstrings. And now when I listen to that shit, I'm a mess. I just start bawling. And I never would have been like that. I mean, I've always been a sensitive guy, but now I can't really control that. But other than that, everything's been great. I've been fortunate. All the people that I've met here and or run into at, places I frequent a lot, like grocery shopping or going to whatever my favorite bars, I never get weird looks or attitude or, people like, oh, yeah, that's a guy, being clocked. They certainly have to know, I'm very new to transitioning and being on my hormones, but um, it hasn't been that tough for me. I do want to get a little bit of boobage, and I finally just did my consultation actually just last week, so that's in the pipeline. But yeah,
And did you tell your mom about it? How did your mom and your brother find out?
yeah. So I told my brother first because our mom is very old and she has Alzheimer's. So her memory is just terrible. But we've always been really, really close. She's super liberal. She's super open and accepting because my brother came out. He's my older brother. He came out as gay um, many years ago. And she was always fine and accepting about it, which is so great. So I knew I could tell her, but I was telling my brother, and he's up in Massachusetts in Boston. We were doing a FaceTime call when I told him about me, and we started talking about, mom, and I was like, I'm not gonna tell her because I only see her like once or twice a year, and I can hide it still. I can wear my boy clothes and wear a chest compression type thing to where she doesn't see my little buds, and she'll just never know. I mean, she's my legs, I've always kind of shaved my legs and just the other part, it would just be normal to her. But he thought, well, yeah, maybe. Because I didn't want to tell her because the Alzheimer's, and she would probably, every time I talked to her, ask the same questions. And it's very
Right, right.
exhausting talking about all this very heavy, deep stuff. So, long story short, I was in Waco with my brother for, I don't know, maybe her birthday or Christmas, Mother's Day, one of those things. And the opportunity presented itself at the dinner table. And I'm so glad I told her. It was very emotional. We all had a very good cry. And I could tell she understood, but she didn't. She's didn't understand any of the terminology. She really didn't know what the word trans meant. I mean, it was
Right.
like telling, it'd be like somebody trying to talk to me about religion. I know nothing about it.
Mhm.
So, but it was really, really good having my brother there because he's better at explaining stuff, and that was just I felt so much better after telling her, and she's been great. She was actually just in town visiting me for my birthday like 3 weeks ago, and it was the first time we would go out to restaurants and whatnot to where she sees me the way I am, and she was very proud of her daughter. So I just that really made me very happy. So
And have you told the person who took your virginity, the girl?
I have not, and all I will say about that is I know I could talk to her. My brother and her are very good friends, and so she knows because they still speak. But I kind of cut her out of my life because I thought, like a few years ago, she was just we were on complete opposite sides of our political views, and she was one of those that was just always posting stuff that I firmly don't believe in, and so I just kind of cut her out of
Yeah.
my life. But that's all that was. But yeah, she knows. I haven't told her, but it's so funny, Dominic, because people are reaching out to me, my old friends, finding me, like, and just some of them actually are really, really cool. It's kind of weird, but they're wanting to see my porn, how do I find you? And the other people just like go into my Twitter, which is super X-rated anyway, and they send me like I don't read my messages if they don't follow me. They go in a different folder and I'll look through them, but if I don't recognize the name or if the first sentence that you can read doesn't say something
Yeah.
of importance, then I just delete it. Well, a couple of them have been something that only I would know. And so when I look at it, I'm like, oh, that's so and so from, back in high school so it's like they're wanting me to know, but they don't say anything. They just want me to know that they see me, which is, I don't even know what that means, but it doesn't even matter to me at this point. I don't care who knows. I don't want so my mom doesn't know exactly what I do. She thinks I'm more doing editing or maybe behind the camera in this
No.
business. Same with my dad. I don't think they need to know at their age. And it's not like I'm blatantly lying to them. I'm just not telling them the entire truth. So
And a lot of the people from your past, were they other band members that you played in bands with?
did you say, are a lot of the people what?
Uh, After your transition, did a lot of musicians and stuff, people you used to jam with and stuff, reach out to you?
Oh, mm, no, only one of them, but one of them is the person I was mentioning who was like, no, I think that's so great. Can you send me, what's your performer name? And I was like, do you really want to see me? Like, I mean, I'm living full time as a woman now, having sex with men and this and that. He's like, no, I think it's great. Yeah. So anyway, we've been staying in touch again, and he's married, and but he's kind of a fan, I suppose, and in a bizarre sort of way. He's like, Ria, you need to write a book. I'm like, I'm still new to this. He's like, yeah, but think about all the other experiences you've had in life with music and and this and that, and I don't know, you're just you've always had charisma, and I just whatever.
Yeah, I agree. Then you could write a book. But so then, do you or does your life basically start anew? Do you completely cut off? I don't want to say cut off the past, but just kind of put it
Yeah.
behind you and go forward? Is that the idea
Yeah.
for you? Is it
That's kind of what I did. I just I only just kept my two ex favorite ex-girlfriends that I still talk to, uh, and my four closest running friends, and maybe six of those people, and everyone else. Yeah, I just moved on. I'm not saying I like blocked them or anything, but I closed all the old social media and just kind of disappeared. It's not like it's hard to find me. And people still reach out, like I was saying, so and so told me about it. I just want to let you know you have my full support. I think it's great. I haven't had any negativity, but I'm sure there's definitely got to be a couple handfuls of people that are just that's fucked up, that sort of thing.
uh,
But it is what it is. I can't please everybody, so I have to make
um,
my.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. On OnlyFans, do you do custom work?
Um, yes, I do. I don't do a lot of custom. To me, it's actually a pain in the ass. I think I put too much effort into it. It ends up taking me like it's almost not worth the money what I charge because for me, like if somebody wants I'm just throwing out a hypothetical. Oh my God, Ria, I love your feet. I want your feet. Can you do me a video? I want to see they're real specific, right? I want to see your soft, wrinkly soles, but I want you to put your toes in your mouth. And then I want you to put on some flip-flop sandals so I can see your toes and then start jerking off for me. And then, it's so involved and
Hmm.
it ends up being more work than it ends up taking me an hour to film it because I can't remember everything they want. So I kind of
Right.
have to reread their summary and then go back into it. Then that means I got to do a lot more editing and then initially setting up for the lights. And it just ends up being kind of a half a day project. And if I'm only making, $100 for 10 minutes or something, it's not always worth my time. So, I kind of keep raising my prices, and
Yeah.
if people are willing to pay it, then that's fine. But that was the long version. But yeah, I do customs. I try to do it more through my mini vids than OnlyFans because they have it kind of set up. They have a
No.
tab that says custom, and you can kind of create a menu versus OnlyFans. You have to get a lot of back and forth with what they want and how much you're going to
Hmm.
charge, that sort of thing.
The craziest request you got for a custom?
Um, well, so a lot of them I turned down. A lot of people want me to do just bullshit stuff like race play, and say N words and this and that. And I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. That's not cool. Um, I mean, I've done like, uh, do you know what ABDL is? It stands for like adult baby diaper love.
Oh,
So
I've
I've
heard
had
of it.
people send me like these kind of cute diapers that are bigger and just
But,
kind of they want me to waddle around in them, put a pacifier in my mouth. So I'll do stuff like that. I don't judge when it comes to stuff like that. Definitely done some pee videos. People like to watch me pee. But I probably the diaper stuff is more out there, but I actually kind of like doing it. Is what kind of bizarre. I didn't know that I would, but it was,
no.
it kind of just, oh, that's kind of cool. So, but other than that, yeah, most of my stuff is just most of it is me doing solo sensual. oil jerk off sessions and coming and dirty talking to where they can have that experience with me. And those are pretty easy and fun actually for me. I am trying to do more POV because when I started off, I was doing a lot of POV, and to me, it was very uh, sort of unprofessional in a sense because it's like
Right,
maybe
right.
someone doggy or they're fucking me, and I'm holding it, and the camera's moving. It's very very homemade, which just like you said, actually it's great. But in the beginning, the way my mind worked was like, I want to start doing better and better, more professional looking stuff,
Yeah,
which is what I did. But now I'm kind of wanting to go back to that because there's certainly a lot of people that like that.
yeah,
You hit the nail on the head. That's a big part of it. People want to see scenes that look more authentic, like a hookup, that sort of thing. So I have done some more just like 90% POV, and I think that's good to do. And then, but my like sort of niches they're kind of always changing. It's hard for me to gauge. I still know what my best-selling content is, and that's actually the interracial stuff, me with black guys. But frankly, there aren't that many of them here to work with.
no,
And I need to find more of that because I definitely enjoy doing that as well. And then my next best-selling stuff is I do a lot of and going back to customs, a lot of we call them like sort of like sissy training. It's
mm,
a lot of guys that like to wear clothes or perhaps want to live vicariously through me, but maybe they're married and or just too closeted, and so I'll do like a lot of videos, kind of talking them through being a good proper slut and how to go pick up guys, hook
no,
up and be the best, naughty girl you can. I do a
yeah,
lot of that, and
yeah.
that's kind of fun for me as well.
And when you shoot content, you shoot stuff you want to shoot or stuff you think will sell?
I'd say both. I I was just talking about and it remains to be seen, but I was just talking about just releasing my first video of me topping a male. I don't know how that's going to sell. I certainly would always get a lot of comments and emails saying, where can I find videos of you, topping a guy, or I want to be the first person you top, that sort of thing. So we'll see what happens with that. So that's more of like I'm shooting it to see, if other people are going to like it. And if they do, I will continue to do it. Uh, Me topping a guy is certainly not my first preference when it comes to sex stuff. I don't not enjoy it, but it's I would top a girl, any day over a guy. It's just what I gravitate towards. But the rest of it, I think yeah, I kind of shoot what I want. I don't always shoot with my first choices of co-performers, but I also am trying to film with as many people as I can. More to might open up more doors for me or help just get my name out more with more people that I work with because they're going to be posting this stuff too, and they might see the video like, oh wow, who's that girl with so and so? Her name's Ria Bently. Let me look her up, and then they might become a fan of mine. So we'll see.
And when do you collab with someone based on the number of followers they have? Do you collab with someone because you like a look, maybe? Or you're looking for something specific from another creator?
Well, it when I first started doing it, I certainly was trying to work with people that had more followers, but I rather quickly found out that number really doesn't mean that much. And a lot of people don't understand this, but they do all these like retweet groups or sometimes even pay people to, just to get their follower numbers up, but it's not like organic. It's a lot of fake people following them, and frankly, I don't like the way it looks on your Twitter page. It just is all congested with, I want to see this person. Who are all these other clowns, So, but for me, it's an attraction. Like if I'm attracted to somebody, um, I reach out to a lot of people. And by the way, probably 8 or 9 out of 10 people I contact to try to set up a collab. They don't even return my message. So I'm used to me, that's a rejection, and that's fine. I'm not everyone's cup of tea, but um, yeah, I look for somebody I'm attracted to, and I usually just go that route. And if they are reaching out to me, I have to be attracted to them, to say yes to a collab. A lot of them, they're friendly enough, but I'm not gonna work with somebody if I'm not attracted to them. That's just I'm not gonna do it. There are a few people that I have reached out to, trying to set up a collab, and they at least get back to me and are
Right.
showing me respect, and they're like super nice to me, but they at least say, I'm not interested. I would rather have that, even though it's a rejection, as just like keeping you
Right.
wondering, because that means, well, I'm going to try them again in a few weeks. And I don't like that kind of rejection. I would rather
Right.
somebody be professional and tell me, well, look, I really appreciate that, Ria, and I like your work, but I don't think we're compatible, or I don't think that's something I want to pursue. That's all I want to hear.
Agree 100%. When you're not doing silly interviews like this and you have time off, what do you like to do?
I like to cook. I try to live as healthy a lifestyle as I can. Like I run a lot. Running is a big part of my life. I'll run like 3 times a week outside. I try to get out there more, but yeah, I like to go for long runs. I like to go 10, 14 miles. Not every run, but once a week I try my hardest. And yeah, I like to just put on music that I like. It's generally older music. And I'll go in there and I'll cook some dinner, maybe have some wine. But as fun as that can be, it's always more fun doing that with somebody else. It kind of sucks because none of my friends, I live downtown Vegas, and all of my friends seem to be in Summerlin or Henderson. It's like pretty far away. So I, uh,
Yeah.
I feel like I'm by myself too much, and on top of that, I try to go out at least once every other week just to be social. Finally going to go out tonight. But yeah, that's what I like to do, those things. But I work 7 days a week. I'm a workaholic. I'm very OCD, and I get obsessed with things I'm working on and
Right.
editing and this and that. And it takes a lot of my time, but it's part of it.
And how much different are you than Ria? How much of this is an act?
I feel like this is the real me on this interview. Now, when I'm performing, I mean, there's certainly going to be some acting involved, but to me, it's usually pretty easy acting. But honestly, yeah, I mean, this is me. I just kind of hang out in comfortable clothes, and yeah, granted, I'm wearing a little bit more makeup for the video. Um, yeah, this is just sort of what I do. I sit around on the computer I'm talking to you on, and I edit videos. And if I feel like I shoot content about average of twice a week. And yeah, the rest, that's the small part of it, right? The rest of it is social media, and putting your stuff on all the platforms and the porn sites and the Reddits, and just working on descriptions and titles for what your next video is going to be. You know, it's just very time consuming. I do everything myself. I have not worked with a management company to run my
Right.
platforms. So that's quite time consuming, but at least you know, you get the money. So, but yeah, and then the acting part would be this is the real me, but the acting part would probably be for some of the videos I do, you know, naturally. Certainly the solo stuff, you know, you gotta put on a sexy act and talk and say things that you wouldn't normally in your normal
Right.
life. Like if I'm having sex in my personal life, which I never do anymore, yeah, I'm not gonna be the same person, and I wouldn't do some of the crazy positions that I like to do in my videos. It would be a little bit more I like to spoon and be missionaried just because it's more lovey-dovey and I like those positions. So
And a good scene for you, is it a good performance or is it good sex?
well, I suppose in the end you're gonna need both of those to, you know, come together perfectly. You know, sometimes you just luck out with finding, yeah, just like in life, you know, when you meet your girlfriend, you know, it's happens organically at the dry cleaners or wherever. You just bump into somebody, there's an attraction, and all of a sudden you're on a date, and it's just like, I can't believe I met this person, you know, and you end up going out for a couple of years. You know, sometimes you get lucky with your sex scenes. There's a big attraction going both ways, and you don't really sometimes you don't even have to stop the camera to, okay, we're going to go into pile driver. You know, you just can kind of push the person down and just
Right.
start fucking her like that. And it just happens just like, I don't know, just, it's like a miracle. It just happens sometimes, but a lot of it's, yeah, a lot of acting, a lot of stopping and, uh, it's just, it is what it is. You know, you gotta, it's not glamorous all the time, and there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff involved with the lighting and the relubing and, you know, cleaning this or that, and yeah, it's just part of it.
And for you, what is the reality of this business, I guess, versus what people think it is?
It's kind of weird because the longer I do this, and in particular since I've been in Las Vegas, like all of my friends are trans or performers, one of the two. And you know, I've never liked the word sex worker. To me, it still conjures up like hooker images. It's just a weird name,
Mm.
but at the end of the day, you know, we're sex workers, and you kind of get you definitely. I'm starting to become desensitized to so much of what we do, and like when my mom was here, like I was talking about. I certainly had to put like my fuck machine. There was a lot of things I had to put in the closet,
Right, right,
literally. And then when we were out, I had to kind of really think about
right.
what's appropriate and not appropriate to talk about because, like I said, I've become a little desensitized to some of the stuff. Always talking about sex and porn sites and the whole nine yards. So, oh, yeah, I have to kind of watch myself with that now. You know, and if I go back to Austin to visit my friends, even though they know what I do, they're frankly, they probably want to hear it once and then they're not going to want to hear
No,
all the details and all that sort of stuff. But that's kind of what, you know, we talk about a lot now. Oh, so and
right,
so, his dick is so big or whatever. Oh my God,
right,
his balls are shriveled or her pussy is so gets so wet and it tastes so good, whatever. You know, you just don't
right,
normal conversation is not like that. So I have to kind of, Ria, you know, get out of that mindset.
right.
I have not. I haven't been in a relationship since I moved here, but I'm purposely doing that or avoiding that, I should say, because I don't want it to get interfere with my focus at the moment.
Right.
Right now, I am not just because I'm new to transitioning, but
Yeah.
it's because I'm newer here and I'm really just sort of hyper focused on doing anything and everything I can
Right.
to
Right.
get
To get your
just
brand out there.
and if I if I meet someone that I like and we it turns into something, as much as I want that, that could really interfere with my goals, my short-term goals right now. So I'm kind of purposely holding back from that, but I do miss it. It's always nice having a companion or whatever. But I'm also very much of a loner. I've always preferred to live by myself. I like to have my space and
Yeah.
privacy. I've always been like that. So,
What are your social media handles?
um, well, I have a lot of them, but the X Twitter is at the Ria Bently, and my Instagram is TS Ria Bently.
Yeah, and before I forget, you started OnlyFans. How do you make the transition into mainstream at all?
Well, I'm still struggling with that. I've only done like really smaller studios, Groovy, and then there's a place here that has like three sort of sites, Trans Midnight, Trans Daylight, and Trans Roommates. I do those, and then I've done something called Queer Crush. But yeah, that's it. I haven't been able to do the Trans Angels or the big ones or Kink or Evil Angel or some of these cool ones out in LA. I don't know if that will happen, but I would love for it to.
People want to book you for work. Do you have an agent? Do you do self-booking? Do you do what?
I'm just self-booking. I would love to find an agent. Let me know if you have any recommendations on that. But yeah, I just most people just find me on my Twitter, but my email for that is Ria Bent Ria Bentley XXX at Gmail.